Of course, the first place we need to go to is Service Marketplace. So I'm going to log in to support.sap.com, and then we're going to go to download software. So I'll select download software. We'll go to our installations and upgrades, and then we'll do a search by an alphabetical list. So if I go to H for SAP HANA, I'll just log in with my certificate. And then if I scroll down, you'll see that if I go right down, we've got SAP HANA DW Foundation, which is a set of tools within the SAP HANA Data Warehousing Foundation. Now, if I select that and drill down and we go to the installation, you'll see that we've got a small zip file. So if I scroll down, so of course it's a tiny zip file, but essentially it's a delivery unit. So I'm going to select it. I'll click on OK. To log in, and then of course this is going to download that 4 megabyte zip file. And again, the assumption here is that you've got SAP HANA installed, because we're going to import this delivery unit. So I'll just shut down my browser. Now I put it on my desktop, so if I double click, this is what it looks like. And if I go into my data units and go into Data Warehousing Foundation, you can see we've got various tools that we're going to use to install the Data Lifecycle Manager. There's also zip files here to install the Data Distribution Optimizer. And you don't need to extract anything because you actually install the whole zip file. So what I'll then do is I'll go to Chrome, and if I launch a browser and I go to my SAP HANA XS Lifecycle Manager, this is the tool that we're going to use to import our delivery unit. So I'm going to log in as a system user. I'm performing all of these steps as a system user. And then what we'll see is the homepage of Lifecycle Manager. So to perform the installation, we're going to go to installation, because these are zip files that we're going to get. And what we'll do is we'll click on browse, and then on the desktop we'll select that zip file. You'll see that it says uploading and validating the archive, and then you'll see it'll start the installation and update of any products. Now if I scroll down, I've actually already installed it. It doesn't really make a difference. It will just override what you've installed. So I'll select DW content, and then I'll select install. So if you'll get this window which shows you the installation of HDW. So you've just got some details about log files. You can see here that the installation's running, and if I scroll down you can see what's happening. The validation finished, the import is running, and again it's going to take a few seconds to execute. And then when it finishes, what happens is a registration takes place, but that should be very quick, and then you'll get a confirmation that the installation has finished. Of course, to validate, if you go back to the home screen, what you'll see is that SAP HDW import delivery unit has been installed. So now that you've done that, we can log out of the SAP HANA Lifecycle Manager, and what I'm going to do is launch the SAP HANA Studio, because we have to allocate some rights to a user in order to use DLM. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to allocate all these rights to the system user, but of course it's very easy for you to create your own user and allocate those rights to that user. So if I drill down and I go to my security, if I expand my list of users and double click on the system user, you'll see that I've already got some granted roles. Now the 4 roles at the top were installed by default. I didn't add any more roles. The only role I added was the Lifecycle Manager Administrator role. So again, you might need to do that if you want to access Lifecycle Manager, but again, you could allocate that to another user as well. So in order to configure DLM, what we need to do is add some granted roles. So I'll select Add, and we need to add the following roles, which of course were imported with that delivery unit. These are DLM Role Administrator. That's the only one we really need. Of course, if you want to look at the other roles, you've got all the documentation. So we need to add that. If I add another role and do a search for SQL CC, we're going to need this SQL CC Administrator later on during the configuration. So I'll add that role as well. Now when you've added it, I can save, and I can close and minimize my list of users. So if we go back to our browser, what we'll need to do is a little bit of configuration. So within SAP HANA Extended Application Services, you use the SQL connection configuration to enable the execution of SQL statements from your server-side JavaScript application using credentials that are different to the credentials of the requesting user. Now you need to do this when using DLM. So to do this, what I'll do is I'll go to SAP HANA XS/admin. We'll press return, and because we've got access to SQL CC Administrator, we can log in as our system user. So I'll log in, and then what you'll see is that this is what it looks like. There we go. So we can see a list of our application objects or packages. Now if I drill down into SAP HDM core, and then if I scroll down and if I select I don't select sudo, sorry. If I click on the arrow to select the actual package, we've got there a SQL connection configuration. All we need to do essentially is make this active. So if I select activate, we'll be asked to confirm, and now it says SQL CC configurations for that package have been successfully activated. So that's the only bit of configuration you need to do here. So if I log out of my admin, now what we can do is log into DLM. So you can get there by going to SAP/HDM/DLM. Again, we've allocated all the rights to the system user, so all I need to do here is log in as system with my required password. And this is what it looks like. Now you'll know this is DLM SPS 03 because you've got this new feature which is Manage Modeled Persistence Objects, which you can see in the middle of the screen. But if you look on the top right hand side, you can see to be configured. So we just need to do some configuration by selecting that, and we've got a list of things that we need to do at the bottom of the screen. So what I'm essentially going to do is copy all these commands. I'll right click, I'll go to copy, and I'll launch a notepad. And what I'll do is I'll paste those on the in Notepad. So essentially we need to run these commands. We just need to fill in some details, but we just need to run each of these 3 commands. Basically all I need to do is change system database to the user I'm using. So I'll just perform that change now. There we go. So you can see we're doing an alter system. We're calling a procedure, prepare before using, and then we're running another alter system configuration for both the XS engine. These apply to the scheduler and the trace. So all I need to do is, as the system user who has the rights, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to paste that into a SQL console. And then of course all I need to do is execute. So I'll execute the first one first, which will add this scheduler rights to xsengine.ini. I'll then execute this procedure, which is prepared before using. And then lastly, it'll take a few seconds to execute. There we go. And then lastly, what I'll do is I'll run that alter system configuration, which again will add the ability to use trace or set the trace method to error. And I'll execute that. There we go. So now that we've run all of those commands and also imported those delivery units, what you should see again to validate is if I go to my roles and scroll down, you should see a few extra roles. Of course, you've got your DLM roles, but you'll also see a few roles which contain the letters GNR. So I'm just going to scroll down. You can see that we've got GNR, Administrator, Support, and Display. That's what you should expect to see now. And again, if I go into my catalog, you'll see a few new schemas, SAP HDM, HDM DLM, and HDM DLM Gen. They're the new objects you should see. So that's it. That's all you need to do in order to install DLM. Now, if I go back and close that window, all I need to essentially do is refresh the screen. And what we should see is that it says that the system has been properly configured. So I hope you enjoyed that short video which showed you how to install Data Lifecycle Manager